Lama is guru and Giveshenye is the teacher. So actually it's just one word, but in English, the translation, it made it seem like there are two people here, holy guru and well-wishers. Actually, it's just one person, the guru who is also a well-wisher of yours. So this is what we are referring to. Anyway, so the second point is all about regarding venerating and regarding your guru as important as the crown of usually for kings. During the medieval times, the king has the king is is the, so when the person is wearing that crown, oh, this is the king. So similarly, and so the crown becomes such a piece for the king. Similarly, for a practitioner, the guru is like a crown of king. This marks, just like the crown marks the king as a king. It's a sign. The guru marks the practitioner. So when one has a proper guru and one after finding the proper guru, when one follows one's guru well enough, then one will one will be able to execute one's, let's say, the power of a king. So with proper, as a proper king, which is proper guru, and by venerating and regarding one's guru properly, and respecting and following the guru's teachings and instructions properly, one will be able to execute spiritual practices properly well. Oh, okay. Now, after having the proper guru, one needs to follow the instructions, and so the instruction can be simplified in three formats. What we call in Tibetan "te sam gom sum." So to read, to think, and to apply, to put in practice. Literal translation meaning of "te sam gom sum" is to listen or hear, sam is to think, and gom is to meditate. But the word meditate in Tibetan has many different meanings. It can also mean apply. It can also mean familiarize, and all other things. So here, to simplify, what we are talking about is after having the appropriate guru for your practices, one must into application the practice the instructions given by the guru in the three formats: is to read or to listen, and to think what you have read, and to apply, put into application what you have so far thought about, or analyzed about, investigated about, and read about. So to read, to think, and to apply the instructions of the guru. So this is the third unmistaken principle to be observed. Number 4 is Tawa So this means is the view or understanding of Dharma, and through your understanding of the Dharma, if you study properly, one might say Dharma has sort of like two parts, right? One is the philosophical aspect of the Dharma, and one is the practical or the spiritual aspect of the Dharma. Holiness usually talks about the three aspects of the Dharma, Buddhism, which is the Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist spirituality. And His Holiness always says that as far as the spirituality is concerned, that is, sort of like for the Buddhist people only, because non-believers and non-Buddhists will have no use for Buddhist spiritual practices. But as far as the Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist science are concerned, then this is useful for everyone, whether you are a believer or non-believer. So there is a book he has edited. He sort of collected all the teachings of Buddha and the masters. So it's called the Compendium of Buddhist Science. So the point is, Buddhist philosophy is the truth of the world, the truth regarding our pain, the truth regarding our suffering, and all this, the reality according to Buddhism. And Buddhist science is the mechanism of our mind, how our mind works, how the division of mental states that we have, positive mental state, negative mental state, and how must we remove or reduce each of these mental state if we want to be if you want to, for example, if you want to remove jealousy, what would be the right method to do that? What sort of antidote or what sort of counteractive mental attitude one must apply in order to reduce jealousy, and it goes on and like that. So philosophical aspect and the spiritual, the scientific aspect of Buddhism. Now here, point number 4, we are talking about the Tawa Tol, Joba Mawa, which Tawa is the Buddhist view, meaning the philosophical understanding of Buddhism. So one can study, one can practice Buddhism in the sense of, if you have no time to read, no time to study Buddhism extensively, then of course you can, recite mantras and do simple practices as well. But if you have the time, if you have the leisure, then you can study more and then have a bigger understanding, larger understanding of the Buddhist philosophy. And with that, one can have one's outlook on the reality or the whole world will be different. So in that sense, one's views, one's understanding should be high. But at the same time, one's attitude, if you like, the way you interact with people, just because you have such an just because your understanding of the world, your worldview is so much higher, well, you must not look down upon other people who doesn't share the same worldview as yourself. So by world, I mean here I'm talking about world in like the reality, the world outside. So in that sense, one's view should be high, but one's attitude towards other people should remain low. Meaning one should not think of oneself as, oh, my understanding of the Dharma is so high, so I am better than other people. So there's a term in English, it's called holier than thou. So it's in all English, like, which means holier than you. I am more holy than you because I practice, Dharma this much more, and my understanding of Dharma is this much more. I have received this much initiation and so on and so forth. So so I am holier than you. So it's called holier than thou. So that sort of attitude is shunned here. So one should not have that sort of attitude. One's understanding of the Dharma should be high, but at the same time, one's attitude to oneself should be low. There is Mahatma Gandhi, who was the founding father of India. So there's a simple quote by him, which says, "Simple living, high thinking." So this is exactly what it means. As far as education or understanding of the world, your education, your knowledge is concerned, it should reach the pinnacle. It should, be the topmost. One must gather all the knowledge that one can. But at the same time, the way one is living one's life, when one is interacting with other people, at that time one should always be humble. So being humble in your livelihood, but being sophisticated in your worldview. So this is what we are talking about here. Oh, that's... Yeah. Okay. The next point is similar to the previous one. So so one should have a broad view. Then with that open mind, that broad-mindedness, one sees one has a lot of one understands a lot of things, but at the same time one's own principles should remain intact. Whatever commitments that you have must remain intact. Just because you have seen a lot doesn't mean you adapt to everything. You have seen a lot, you learn a lot, and that has influenced or impacted you in certain ways, but your own principles should remain steadfast. If you keep changing, adapting to everything that you see, then there will no longer be what can be identified as you. You will be adapting to this and that, and so you'll be so one must stay intact, even though one has gathered a lot of information. So the previous one and here, this one is very much relevant, number 4 and number 5. In number 4, we talk about the views being high. So when you are on a high cliff, when you are on a mountain, then you can see all the, when you are on the mountain, you can see all the landscape. Similar, just because you can see all the landscape doesn't mean you have to go to every nook and corner, to every house in the landscape, right? Just because from the mountain you can see all the households down there, down below, all the families. But that doesn't mean you have to go to all the families and be with them. So you have your own families to be with. So similarly, with the when your view is high, when you're on the cliff, you can see a lot. And with that, when you have a viewpoint from the high cliff, then your mind becomes open. Your mind becomes broad-minded. And when you are broad-minded, then you are not the only family living in that place. Oh, there are so many other families living in this place, so we need to respect them as well. But it doesn't mean so this is the thing, we need to understand that there are so many other families living, and we need to respect them. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we have to go to every family's house and we have to be with them. We live with them. So in that sense, one's commitment should remain intact. Whatever commitment and principle you have, that should remain intact. But one should be open-minded to all the traditions, all the cultures, all the different people, all the variety of the culture and color, let's say, in your life. You must be open to that. And only with that, such a broad-mindedness, one will be able to become a good practitioner. There was a saying, I don't know who said it first. It is in my head because I read it somewhere. So there was a quote by, I think he's an American philosopher or something. So the saying goes like this: if you have a small mind, I think he's an Indian philosopher, maybe Krishnamurti, that's his name. I forgot the source anyway. So he said that if you have a small mind, and if you think of God, then God of your thinking will also be limited because you have a very small mindset. So, for example, if you think, let's say, if you think, only Buddhist people are good people in the world, right? And all the other people are not good people. Everyone except Buddhist people are good people. If you have that kind of thinking, and then you think of a God, the God of your thinking, your mentality is also limited. Well, in Buddhism, we don't believe in God, we believe in Buddha. So if you think Buddhists are the only good people in the world are Buddhist people. Everyone except for Buddhist people are bad people. If you have that ideology, then when you pray to Buddha, the Buddha of your mentality is also limited. This time, the Buddha does not have unconditional power. The Buddha can love or take care of only Buddhists, because the Buddha, just like yourself, because your mind is limited. If your mind, Buddha's powers are limited by your imagination. So if you have a small mindset, if you have a closed-minded, if you are closed-minded, then the Buddha of your imagination, your mentality, will also be limited. And so if you think rebirth or next life is not possible, another thing. If you think afterlife is not possible, then the Buddha to which you pray for afterlife will also not be able to do anything for afterlife. So the God of your imagination, if you have a small mind, so this is the quote, if you have a small mind and if you think of the God, then the God of your mind, your understanding, your mentality will be as limited as your mindset. So this is, I think this is very relevant to the topic that we are talking about here. So it is important to have, it is important to broaden our mind, whether people believe in the same culture, same belief system with you or not, whether they follow one particular tradition or another tradition, it doesn't matter. We are not here to correct other people. We are here to correct ourselves, make ourselves better than what we were yesterday. So therefore, the goal in Buddhism, the goal is always the ultimate goal is always internal. You have to compete with yourself, not with others. Competing with others is superficial. You have to do that. Maybe if you are in the college, if you are in school, you compete with other people. Maybe in business, you do that too. But the ultimate competition is with yourself. You have to be better than what you were before. And in order to do that, if you have a closed mind, then you will think that the ultimate goal is to compete with other people. You will always challenge other people. Whereas the challenge is always to the question is always to challenge yourself. So broad-mindedness, but at the same time, one must stick with one's commitment. So here, commitment, I'm not talking just about Buddhist, recitation and meditation and things like that. In general, one must have a broad view in life also, regarding worldview, let's say, politics, economy, livelihood, culture, whatever. One must have a broad view. But just because because there's internet nowadays, so we see a lot of things, right? We see how people in China live, how people in America live, how people in Africa live. But that doesn't mean we must live like them. Some of those people live better than us. Some of the people live worse than us, and many of them live just like us. So we stick with the livelihood that is most appropriate for the environment that we are living in. We don't immediately change to adapt with the American lifestyle or the African lifestyle or any other like that. Now the next is Sherab Chalamage Chongwan Madawanis. The acquiring higher wisdom, acquiring superior wisdom, and also, so let's say, elevating your wisdom, and lowering your ego. Elevate your wisdom and lower your ego. So this is another principle to be observed, unmistaken principle to be observed. So this is actually relevant to point number 8 as well as point number 4 here. So if you elevate your wisdom, if you sharpen your wisdom, your mind, then you will be able to see the higher view. You will be able to acquire the higher view. And when you have the higher view, then you will be able to lower your ego. And if you can lower your ego internally, then externally you will not be. You will be more humble externally when you interact with people. So if you truly acquire wisdom, not just information, right? People who have a lot of information, people who usually what we call knowledgeable people who are, scholastic, let's say, people who have lots of information, who are learned, some of them are very proud. The thing is, those who has a lot of information, but at the same time proud, are actually lacking in wisdom. If you truly are endowed with wisdom, then whatever knowledge that you have acquired, it will make you more and more humble. It will always be on uh, it will always be able to uh, crush down on your ego. An example I give you is ego is like ignorance. So knowledge and ignorance, they go they're on the opposite side of each other. So they're facing they're back to back, right? Knowledge, knowing and not knowing, knowledge and ignorance. So when you have a knowledge, when you have ignorance, this is like a dark room. And when you bring a very bright torch or light into the dark room, wherever that light is touched upon, that part is brightened. But the part of the room which is not touched by the light is still dark. So with wisdom, what you will see is, okay, what the torch, the light of my torch shines to that particular place, right? Maybe to one corner, to the east corner, but the west corner, north corner, and south corner is not touched by my light. It's still dark. So when you acquire real wisdom, you will be able to know how much you do not know. And when you know how much you do not know, then your ego is automatically quashed. If you think you know everything, then you feel egotistic, you feel so proud. But if you know you do not know much, so just like that, if you point your torch to one corner, then the other corners which is not touched by the light is still dark. So you, with proper wisdom, the real wisdom, a proper wisdom actually tells you what you do not know. And the only one who knows everything, that is the Buddha, why we call him the omniscient one, the all-knowing one. So, because the more we know, the more knowledge or wisdom we gain, we will be able to realize how much we do not know. And if we know how much we do not know, then our ego is automatically quashed. No. Then the number 7 is Dhamma Chola. So to be rich, to be rich with instructions, to be rich with manual, to be rich with instruction, and then to put effort into practicing the Dharma, to be rich with instruction and putting emphasizing on the practice, putting efforts into the practice of the Dharma, putting efforts into whatever instruction that we're given is vital, it's important. Now, what we are talking about here is there are two things. When you are doing your practices, when you start doing your practices. So here, when we talk about practices, we are talking more in the sense of meditation. Putting into application what you have understood. In that sense, there are two ways. One is that you may have done extensive study. You may have studied the Buddha Dharma for 13-14 years, maybe in a monastery or maybe by with a proper teacher. So if you are a scholarly person, in other words, so if you have done extensive study of the Buddha Dharma, then you have the instruction all at your hands. So then you are better off. If you have not done extensive study, then you will. It is most important that you will need the step-by-step instruction or guidance from your teacher. regarding to what to do next, what is the next step, how to do this when these and that obstacles come up, how should I tackle that. So all these steps are very important to realize. So it usually in the monasteries, for example, in the monastery that I grew up, and it happens to most of the big monasteries, when we were first started to study the Dharma, like, after 3 to 4 years into the studying the Dharma, so we do, a lot of studies, and then we are really motivated, encouraged to the teaching, through the teachings that our teachers gave us. We are really motivated to go to the hermitage to do meditation for all our life. So we are really motivated. And then when we go to the teacher will actually dissuade us. Instead of persuading us, they will dissuade us and tell us, don't go. You can't do anything there. So they will tell you all the reasons you will not be able to do it. So from an outsider's perspective, it seems like the teacher is really, it doesn't make any sense. Up until now, the teacher is always telling us to do practice, and do practice. And then when we tell them we're going to go leave the monastery and go to a hermitage, to the mountains and do practices, they tell us not to go. So there are two reasons here again. One is the teacher is testing our will. How committed are we to go into doing those practices? That is one point. Sometimes they go without the teachers. They go without the teacher's permission to leave. They will leave and they go to the monastery to live in the mountains and do meditation. Usually, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Of course, to go into solitary meditation and do all this is very good. But what happens is without the proper instructions. So what the teacher usually tell us is, wait a few more years. For example, in our monastery, we study, first we study the Prajnaparamita, and then we study the Madhyamika. And in the Madhyamika, we study the ultimate, the view of Buddha Dharma, the view of Buddha himself, which is the Madhyamika view. And that is studied during the Madhyamika class. So they always tell us to stay until you finish the Madhyamika class, and then you can go. And usually, if the up until Madhyamika class, it takes about 12 years to finish, to get onto Madhyamika. So if the student is still persistent in doing the solitary meditation, even after 12 years, if the resolution is still intact, then the teacher will say, okay, now you have studied Madhyamika class, now you can go. Many a times when you reach up to that level, your mind is no longer in that state. You don't really want to go to meditation, solitary meditation. You want to do other things because you have seen a lot of things, and your mind, just as I said before, you have seen a lot of things. Your mind is broad, your mind is open, and just like open window, you have seen a lot of things, and you want to do a lot of other things too. But some of them are very good. They, even after 12 years, their resolution still is intact. They want to go, and then they get the permission. So what happens if you do not have the permission, or if you do not have the proper instructions? It's like taking a long drive without fueling your car, without putting sufficient oil, sufficient petrol in your car. If you're going for a long drive, you need that. Without proper instruction, it is a good thing that you are doing a long drive. But at the same time, if you do not have spare petrol, if you do not have sufficient petrol, sufficient gas, then you will not be able to go very far. And then once your instructions, once your understanding of the Dharma exhausts, dies out, when it is finished, then you have nothing else to meditate upon. You were just looking into darkness. And you are, or in maybe not total darkness, but you are repeating what you already know, which is, it's a good thing that you are practicing Dharma, but at the same time, there is no progress because you no longer have, you have your fuel, your instructional fuel is insufficient, so you cannot progress further. That's why it's important to be rich with the instructions, to be rich with the fuel of instructions. And then you can go for a long drive. I'm sorry. So point number 8 is similar to 4 and 6. So to be modest in one's realization, to be rich, to be rich with one's experiences, spiritual experiences, but at the same time, not to give into arrogance or pride here. So when you have the proper wisdom, then you can have the proper view, and with the proper view, you will be able to have the proper spiritual realizations, spiritual experiences. But just because you have spiritual experiences doesn't mean if you think you are much better than other people and you are superior and other people are inferior, the holier than thou, that if you think you are better than other people, then it will actually make you it will cloud your judgment, and it will make you go the wrong direction. So we see that number of great masters who are so learned and so highly practiced, high level practitioners, but at the same time so humble. So there are so many masters in all the cultures, all the traditions to see, and we must learn from them. Point number 9 is so that means when you are by yourself, be able to sit still, sit still. Don't engage in so many unnecessary activities. And when you are by yourself, so when you are by yourself, being able to sit still, and when you are with others, being able to stand out. And so the translation is a little bit off here. It's so whatever it says here in the book, the translation, the English translation, to live especially in solitude and to refrain away from the community is so this is actually not proper. So what it actually means is being able to sit still in solitude. When you are by yourself, being able to sit still. When you are with others, being able to stand out. What that means is, so you have a lot of knowledge, right? So we are following from the previous instructions. You have the knowledge, you have the view, you have the experience, everything. So just because you have all that, so when we say sit still, it doesn't mean we are not talking about physical activities here. There is a quote by the Kadamba master. So Kadamba master is means the when Master Atisha came to Tibet, so the flock of Dharma practitioners and masters who followed him, they're called the Kadamba. So the Kadamba master used to say, while you are by yourself, when in solitude, when you are with yourself, when you are by yourself, watch your mind. When you are with others, watch your mouth. So watch your mouth when you are with others, watch your mind when you are by yourself. So when here, when you are by yourself, you must be still. You must be still. So it means your mind should be still. Just because you have so many knowledge doesn't mean you have to engage. We talk about this because from the top of the mountain, you can see a lot of things. You can see all the families. It doesn't mean you have to go to each family and live with them. So because you have a lot of knowledge, your mind can scatter. Your mind can go to a lot of places. You don't have to do that. Your mind should remain still. And when you are in a group, and because you have a lot of knowledge, and when you are in a group and your knowledge is required, if people ask you to teach or ask a question, then you must not say, oh, I'm a meditator, so don't disturb me, I'm a meditator, so I'm in such a high meditation stage, so my meditation is very important, don't disturb me. You must not say that. So if someone in a group, when you are in a group and people ask you a question, then you must be able to stand out, which meaning you must be able to extend your help because you have knowledge, you have experiences and all that. So while with yourself, sit still, meaning mentally stable, mentally still. And with a group, be able to stand out, so that meaning extend your help to people. Oh yeah. The last point is that one should not be selfish. One should not do any activity with selfish motivation. Of course, we all like to care for ourselves. So self-care and selfishness is totally different. So sometimes we mix them up. And sometimes in name of self-care, we do selfish thing. And sometimes practitioners, it's a serious practitioner, in the name of in order to eradicate selfishness, sometimes we tackle with self-care as well. Maybe it's necessary because, ego is very deceptive. So therefore, in order to get rid of selfishness, sometimes we have to punish self-care as well. Anyway, the point is, if you have a selfish motivation, then whatever you do does not constitute as proper dharma. So if you have if you do something with 75% selfishness, then your dharma practice become only 25% dharma practice. If you do it with 25% selfishness, then it becomes 75% dharma practice. So it depends on the level of your selfishness. That's why in the beginning we did the motivation, right? So when we do it with the motivation to help other sentient beings, so the higher the motivation, the larger amount of motivation we have, which is it's directed towards achieving enlightenment, not for myself, but for the sake of other sentient beings, then your whole practice becomes dharma practice. So this is what we are talking about here. Refraining from selfish motivation, and then being skillful in the means to help sentient beings. Okay, so complete. Today's session is complete. Now, questions, please. Do we have any questions, Miss Yan?
Bây giờ đến phần hỏi đáp ạ, khóa bài giảng đã xong.
Yes, Rinpoche, we have a couple of questions.
Please go.
I will read the question right now. Read the first question. Prostrate to Rinpoche. First question is, can you please share what practice should we focus on to increase wisdom in Vietnam?
So there are, okay. Yeah, thank you. So there are sort of two methods. One is ritualistic, the ritual, that is to recite mantra, wake up early in the morning, and before saying any word, before saying any mundane words, before doing anything else, recite the mantra Omara Pasanati. And you recite the mantra by visualizing the Buddha of wisdom, which is Manjushri. And so you visualize Buddha of Manjushri, and that he is best. When you recite the mantra, visualize that the Buddha of wisdom is emanating powerful light into you, and then with that powerful light, it is actually eliminating all the darkness of your ignorance away. So reciting mantra of Manjushri, that is, it's a common practice in all the in our community. We do that all the time, every morning. So this is one aspect. So another aspect, this is the the ritualistic aspect. You recite the mantra of Manjushri. Another aspect is to study. Yeah. Then you have to study. So there are so many things to study, right? In Buddhism, we usually talk about the five sort of the five classic texts or five classic Buddhist sciences. The Abhidharma, the Madhyamika, like this, the Prajnaparamita, the study of wisdom, and so on and so forth. So here we talk about the epistemological study, which is the Pramanavartika, which is study of logic, study of Buddhist logic. So if you study that, then your mind will be sharpened. Your wisdom. If you have wisdom from previous life, that will be restored. If you haven't studied before, then it will start. It will start accumulating in this life. So studying of the Tsamarikpa, which is the study of logic, that if you have, you don't have to study extensively. You don't have to do it all in once. You can do it slowly, year by year. So look into Buddhist epistemology, which is the study of Buddhist logic or rationality. That will help you very much. Oh yeah.
The next question, Rinpoche. Can you please explain in more details how to visualize one's gurus atop one's head? Rinpoche.
Okay. Okay, I think this comes from the second point of today's topic. Well, I think there's a little bit communication here. What we're talking about in today's topic is that one should regard your guru as your crown. We are not talking about guru visualization per se. But anyway, since your question is regarding guru visualization, this is more to do with guru yoga. And so, okay, I will explain in simple terms here. So what you do is important to visualize your guru, to see your guru as a completely enlightened person, a Buddha. So the most simple form is to visualize him as the manifestation of Buddha Shakyamuni, or because since we are all Buddhists, we follow Buddha Shakyamuni. Then if you have a favorite Buddha, if you like, if you favor Kuan Yin or maybe Manjushri or whatever, you can visualize your guru as that. So anyway, you have to see your guru as indivisible, one with whatever deity that you are visualizing. And okay, so now we have this thing clear. Now what we do is first visualize your guru in front of you, maybe a meter or whatever. If you are to do a prostration, if you are to do a long prostration, your hands should be able to touch the guru's feet. So that is the length where your guru should be during your visualization. If you are to do a prostration, your tip of your hand should be able to touch the guru's feet. Now the guru is not on the ground. He is elevated to the level of your forehead, to the level of your forehead here. So the distance and the height, we have it covered, right? Now in that state, you pray to your guru for blessing, for whatever things you need, maybe guidance, for blessing, for protection, whatever you need to pray, you pray for that. And through your prayer, your very sincere prayer, the guru is motivated. And from the heart of the guru, another replica of the guru comes and sits on your crown and on your head. And then as you keep practicing, the guru on top of your head starts to do what we call the nectar blessing, nectar dropping or nectar blessing. So a lot of blessing in the form of liquid. So comes, but it's not like ordinary liquid. It's a liquid which is very translucent as well as very shiny, bright, like river in the sunshine. So it's very bright. So this comes down, it pours upon your body, all of your bodies, and your body is cleansed. So one thing is that not just your physical body is cleansed, but your psychophysical body, which means your body as well as your mind are both cleansed with the nectar. So you do this as you keep repeating, as long as you are reciting the mantra, you do that. If you have if your guru has a particular mantra, you recite that. If you don't have, then you can recite the mantra of whatever deity you are, meditating. If you think your guru is Buddha Shakyamuni, then recite the Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Soha. If you are visualizing your guru as Manjushri, then you can do Om Arapasanadi, like that. This is how you do it. And then when everything is finished, then when you want to complete the process, then you can, all the powerful light that is within you is actually, shines towards the whole universe, and all the sentient beings living in the universe are also relieved. So if someone is hungry, they get food. If someone is cold, they get clothes, and like that. And then they are all happy, and because they are happy, their happiness brings joy to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the universe. And through that, you accumulate a lot of merit, because you make the Buddhas happy. You give food to the people who have no food to eat, and like so on and so forth. So that accumulates a lot of merit. So this is a very powerful practice, and then you can do this practice to, this is the Guru Yoga in a simple form.
Rinpoche, when we finish,
Yes.
when we finish the life from the Guru or the life from our body.
Yeah.
When we finish the life from
No.
the Guru or the life from the body, sliding to all the sensing beings. The last one.
Yeah. When we do that, okay. When you want to complete, if you want to do it for 20 minutes, at the end of like 19 minutes, then you can do this. Whenever you want to finish your.
Yes, but I can hear clearly the light from the body, the Guru, or the light from our body to shine to all the universe. From the Guru or from
ourselves now, because our body is no longer ordinary body. Our body is luminescent and translucent. It's very bright. Our body is not ordinary body anymore.
Yes.
So from our body, it's filled with light, and that light actually reflects to all the sentient beings.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more?
I could read the last question. Is that okay? Do we have time?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So the last question is in regards to open-mindedness and broad view for beginners. One can lose focus or lack of strong commitment to a method of practice. What is your suggestions to overcome that obstacle?
Yeah. So losing interest in one's practices, right? So how do we? Yeah. Now this happens because we don't see any result. If you are seeing result every day, then you don't lose interest. So the result may not be significant. So because of that, you lose interest in the current practice. We think, okay, this practice does not work because I'm not getting any result. So the thing is, there are two ways to look at it. One must be very sincere. One must be very honest with oneself and check carefully. Two things is, first, you need to see you have to see whether are there any changes within yourself in the past. You have to compare yourself right now to your past. The changes does not have to be significant changes. If there are some changes, if your anger level has gone down, or maybe you are no longer not that stingy, not that miser, or maybe you are not that sad. So if there are some minor changes there through your practices, then it counts as advancement, and that advancement should be your milestone, and you should keep on going. Another thing is, if there is no changes at all, if there's no result at all from your practices, then you have to be very honest with yourself. Am I doing the practices properly or not? Many of us, we were told to do Monjo practices by our teacher. And when we are told to do Monjo practice, what we think of is usually doing the numbers correctly. 100,000, this and that. So just because you have done 100,000 of all these, we think we have done it enough. So that may or may not be the case, because most of the time when you do the 100,000 practices, because you did the 100,000 practices, because you did something that you haven't done at all before, there are some significant changes in the initial stages. But that's the significant changes will be there in the initial stages. You will feel more calm and all that thing. But as you keep on going, then those changes may not be there. The changes may not be as significant as before, because now it is like body change. It is like losing weight, or like physical physical building. When you are doing bodybuilding, or when you are doing exercise, in the initial stage, if you are trying to lose weight, then you can lose a large amount of weight, or you can gain some muscle within a short amount of time. I mean, if you haven't worked out at all before, then if you start doing your exercise, then you will have some gains. And then it will stop. It will not, there will be no significant changes unless you push harder and harder and harder. And it is not just doing the repetitions that count in bodybuilding. When you are doing, in the gym, when you are doing bodybuilding, the repetition alone is not the key. You have to do it, the method they call it, the way you execute it. You have to do it the proper way. And if you do not do it the proper way, no matter how many repetitions you do it, you will not have the gains you want, whether you want to have, proper chest or body or whatever. So it's just exactly same in the spiritual sense too. You have to do the methods properly. When you are asked to do the mondo, the translation for mondo is one of the translation is the most common translation for mondo in Tibet, in English is preliminary. But one have to think, actually, in Tibetan it has two meanings, and that dual meaning is actually lost in the English translation. So we only talk about preliminary. What it actually means is preparatory as well. So it is preliminary as well as preparatory. So it prepares you to the full length of your Dharma practices, which means in order to prepare yourself for the full length of Dharma practice, it is not just the physical aspect of offering and doing the mandala and that alone. It is, you have to be mentally prepared as well. So when in the bodybuilding, in the exercise, in the bodybuilding scene, they talk about the breathing. When you are doing the weightlifting and all that, your breathing is also very important. How you breathe, at what time you breathe, how to inhale, at what time should you inhale, how long should you inhale, how long should you exhale. So, we are talking about that inner thing in bodybuilding. Similarly, in spiritual practice, spiritual building, if you like, you also have to keep aware of your mental breathing, like what your mental attitude should be, mental state should be in that particular, in what particular practices. So if your inner being, if you're mentally not there, if you're only physically doing the prostration and all that, of course it's helpful, but it does not surmount to the full extension of your Dharma practices. So if your mind and body both are there, if your mind and body are in sync during all of your preliminary practices, then the result will be significantly better. But if you if you keep doing this, then the result will be much better. But if you do it in the very initial stages, and if you miss the motivation, if your mind is not always there, if your mind thinks about all the other worldly problems that you have in your life, yes, we all have problems in our life. That's true. That's why we want to escape from it. That's why we want to escape samsara. As long as we are in samsara, we will have those mundane problems. So during the Dharma practices, we know we have the worldly problems. As long as we are in samsara, we will not be able to escape it. So there is no point in thinking about it over and over, especially during our Dharma practices. When our Dharma practice is finished, when we are off session, maybe we can think about, okay, maybe house problem, money problem, whatever, we can think about that. But during the Dharma practice, leave all that aside, because we are in samsara, our life is already in a mess. So there is nothing surprising about it. So let's leave that aside for now, and then focus totally 100% on the Dharma practice alone. If you do that, if you do your preliminary practice or preparatory practice, mondo practice with that attitude, then and if you keep doing it that way, then you will always have significant result. And as long as you have the result, then you will always be inspired to go further and further.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Oh yeah. So I think that's the last of it. Okay, so we will conclude the teachings, today's session here, and thank you everyone. So we will do the dedication now, and just to let you know, I mean, we are actually streaming on Blue Jeans, which is also broadcasted on Facebook. So if you have questions next week, so this is more of a reminder for next week. So if you can post, you can ask questions, you can post questions on Facebook, and then we will be monitoring the questions, and then we will get back to you regarding the questions. Or you can join in with our Blue Jeans gathering here as well. Okay, now we will do the dedication. Yeah. 夜晚夜夜要说那么我这样常住人多的夜晚要不
Pháp chân thực, Ngài tinh thông toàn bộ kinh và mật, dùng thánh tâm để truyền bá đại dương pháp tạng khắp muôn nơi, nguyện cầu Ngài trường thọ để dẫn dắt chúng sinh.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you.
Come on. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye-bye.